Hey, everybody. We are super, super excited to have you here today. Obviously, going through and talking with the one and only Mike Kortas. Mike, we're super glad that you're able to join us here for this wonderful presentation. We're talking about evoLend, right? I mean, this is I kind of feel like this is the rocket ship when everybody else is still using carriages. And so super excited to really talk about that. I know we have a lot of people in the comments, looking forward to this, excited for evoLend, so exciting, awesome, all that kind of stuff. So Mike, I mean, you're well known for Nexa, right? That's people know you. You got your T-shirt actually on right now. Nexa.
I don't have an
You
evoLend one yet. Sorry.
yeah. you affectionately call the people who work with you Nexans, right?
Yep.
I love that. I love it. So, and you're joining us from where are you joining us from today?
I'm in Puerto Rico right now. So
I love it. How's the weather with all of us up here dying in the heat?
I was in Arizona yesterday, so I feel you. Right. I'm not sure why I wanted to go back to Arizona right now, but I had a good dinner lunch there, business dinner, and I have a new niece, so I had to go see her.
Congratulations.
But yeah, it's brutal heat out there, and I don't mind humidity. Me being from Arizona, right? Whenever I'm in humidity, I feel like I'm on vacation.
Yeah.
So because we never had that in Arizona, but a little breeze comes by and it doesn't. I can't tell it's humid at all. So.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So with evoLend, I mean, really, I'm going to start at the crux of it, right? I've got a whole bunch of questions I want to ask, and everybody watching, if you can on the right side in the comments, if you have questions, this is interactive. Okay. If Mike, he's not boring. He's not going to just sit up here and do talk to everybody and do a little PowerPoint. This is an interactive conversation that we want to really know exactly what is this? Why is this the future, if not the present? So Mike, if you wouldn't mind, just kind of share with us what is evoLend? Why this? Why now?
So I've at the end of the day, right? I say this a lot, but this is, and a lot of companies say this, and I get frustrated when they say it because they take away from the true meaning of it. But this is a company built for loan officers by loan officers. And when we say that, and it sounds like such a cliche in the industry because you have so many people who say that it's frustrating to me because they don't really do that. When you can see it in their actions. And now that I'm the owner of such a large organization, I can really see it when I see the details. And I'm learning with evoLend even more, don't get me wrong. But I've always had the opinion that loan officers, we owe them everything. So why aren't we giving them everything? But I see companies, and I've been a loan officer for the first 18 years of my career. I was a loan officer, and I was frustrated, and I was a mega producing loan officer. I would grow frustrated because I knew what the margins were. I knew what they were making. I knew a lot of it was smoke and mirror. Yet they acted like they were doing me a favor by me hanging my license with them, even though I was a self-producing, independent loan officer. I brought the business. I didn't depend on them for anything. That really frustrated me. So I really have fought hard for loan officers' rights and to defend loan officers, because at the end of the day, I might be the CEO of this company, but I'm self-anointed. I don't even have a high school education, for gosh sakes, right? So I'm a loan officer with a lot of passion at the end of the day is what it really comes down to. And so I never forgot that. I don't feel like an executive. I feel like a loan officer. I feel like I'm fighting for exactly what loan officers want and deserve. And they deserve higher compensation. They deserve lower interest rates. They deserve more products. They deserve outstanding support. So why aren't we giving them those things? And so I've done those things at Nexa over the last 8 years. And we got to a point where we're now at literally, we have our Nexa 100 program where it's 100% that I'm giving up at one point. So I'm giving out 100% at one point on these transactions, literally losing money on transactions because loan officers deserve it. See, I've learned how to make money in the volume, not in the units. And every company is are making money in both directions. And I personally never saw it. So believed in it. But so now that we've gotten to a point, and we didn't start out here, we started out much lower, but because our volumes kept growing, we kept doing more. And I'm not selfish. I'm not greedy. People got to remember when they say, well, why are you going to keep making it better when you're already winning? People have to realize something about me personally, right? When I was a kid, I was locked up in juvenile detention. I was on the streets. I was homeless at 18 years old, right? I had to leave high school because I had to figure out how to survive. And so I look at today with all that we've accomplished at Next, I don't deserve any of this. I'm an imposter, right? These guys are the ones who gave it to me. So why should I not be figuring out how to do things for them that they deserve? And every time we do better, our volumes go up, we make more money. I make sure the loan officers make more money. We have had 13 compensation changes for the better at Next. Not one has ever gone down in our 8 years. And when everybody else was doing commissionectomies during the after COVID because they had to survive, we gave more, and more loan officers came. It caused problems for them because their loan officers left their volume and came to us because they were getting commissionectomies over there. But we kept giving more. But now that I'm at 100, I'm like, how do you give more than 100?
Yeah.
Right. The math has got a math. And the only way to do it, and I started on this road about 2 years ago, longer than 2 years ago. I says, you guys, like the lenders are all making MSR money, servicing. And so I was like, well, why can't the loan officers have a piece of that? Even a small portion of it, by the way. And the more research I did, the more I realized that it actually makes all the sense in the world. And it can be done. There's legal ways to do it, and there's illegal ways to do it. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
But it can actually be done. It's a mindset. But none, and all of the lenders that I approach with, because we're in the wholesale market, so I approach a lot of my wholesale lenders. A lot of them said, sure, we like it. Let's talk about it. But at the end of the day, and I'm the large broker, right? I was, the big broker on the block. And so they appeased me, but I could tell they were appeasing me. And I could never quite get it over the finish line. So then we went down the road. I said, well, what's the chance of me being able to just get a servicing, getting Fannie, Freddie, Ginnie? And there's a lot of roadblocks as a broker in order to get those tickets.
Yep.
And so technically, I'm not even supposed to be able to buy one, but they made an special exclusion for us. Shout out to Tammy Richards, because she was able to get the exceptions from her personal relationship at Fannie, Freddie, and Ginnie to do a transition approval instead of just a transitioning those things. And so we did go through the approval processes, don't get me wrong, but we did it in a way we were able to do it through the purchase of it at the same time. And then my financials were outstanding because I don't know if anybody is aware of it, but I've been in this lawsuit with a former business partner for the past 3 years that because of that, I'd not been able to take any distributions or take anything out of the company. I was accused of it, but it wasn't true. And so the company's just been stacking cash, right? Keep raising our comp and keep stacking whatever cash comes in because I couldn't take or do anything with it. So our financials were outstanding. Now, I'm happy to say that lawsuit is over. And I wish him the best. But now Next is in a position where our financials are just out of this world. And so the agencies really loved our financials and loved, of course, that Tammy was involved because they never would have given it to me. I haven't done servicing. I didn't even, right? I mean, I'm a liar if I sit there and say I understand how.
And Tammy's the CEO, right, of evoLend.
Tammy's the CEO of evoLend, yes.
Yeah. And
so I get my input, but I follow Tammy, right? I'm going to get a shirt that says I'm with Tammy. So
there you go. Get it. Yeah, I'm with Tammy. So we've already got a ton of comments coming in. I'd love to address this first one real fast because you talked about how you were working with the different lenders, right? And how that was. So Timothy Dial asked, he says, the one thing I'm curious about is will evoLend be underwriting the files or will we be underwriting through companies like UWM? And then instead of UWM servicing the loan, evoLend will be servicing the loan.
Yeah, it's a very, very fair and valid question because initially my ideas with this was I was going to force my wholesale partners to play ball with us. But look, and as I got more into this, I learned a little bit more about this and I got a lot more respect for those lender partners because I realized there's not a lot of juice in this thing. And that they are working at incredibly thin margins in the wholesale arena. And so I got a lot of appreciation for what they're doing now that I'm looking at these things ourselves. But at the end of the day, Next has got a lot of cash, but most of them are proposing to do it in a way that would burn through that cash relatively quickly because MSRs are expensive. And we would have to fund them through Next and then buy them through Evo. And then we get the residual income up, but it takes years to recoup that. And so it would burn through cash too rapidly based on the volume that we do. So I'm like, guys, it just doesn't make sense. So we're looking at a hybrid way of doing it.
Okay.
Yes, evoLend, them over there, they will underwrite certain products and fund themselves and create the MSR if that's what we need to do. Now, I would like to get those investors involved and maybe subserviced, depending on the products, things of that nature. Or, and I'm open to this too, let's just do a data share. There's no reason that every wholesale lender out there, because we've already got the software, we're building it, we can data share it with data sharing technologies or your old school sharing technologies. But we can share that information. The biggest thing, there's two aspects to an MSR that create value. One is a monthly income, but it's not that big, right? It takes time for that to really, it's not a huge monthly income. Yes, it's a monthly income, and with volume, it can be substantial, but it takes significant volume for that to really make sense, right? And we won't have that up front, nor will any individual. But an individual loan officer this way can get now hired separately to evoLend to assist in the servicing of that loan and do a separate action to assist us in serving. But what they're really doing is controlling the relationship. So now they control the payoff. So you want to pay off, you got to go through the loan officer to get it.
Gotcha.
Trigger leads come, they got it immediately. They start reaching out. Agentic AI will be a significant help in this because technology is everything now. But there'll be other finance opportunities along the way that we want to make absolute sure that the loan officers are front and center on. And by being a participant in the servicing, they're assisting in us retaining our portfolio by being there in a financing opportunity. Because if somebody's out looking at open houses, right, we're going to be able to pick that up and see that. If somebody is, going to houses that are for sale, we're going to be able to see that. If they change their deck policy on their insurance, right, or the mortgagee clause, anything, we're going to see that. We're going to know that now. And so now there's a financeable potential opportunity there for somebody. So we have those things early and often so that our loan officers can get involved quickly. The original loan officer, I should say, can get involved quickly, who already had an established relationship with that potential consumer. And then they'll be able to get that in and bring it back in to evoLend so that we can retain that portfolio. Or there's a second way to do this. That's just sharing of the data. And the loan officers don't get paid because the more valuable information in the servicing is actually the data. And this is what all these other companies are learning. And you're seeing this in the news a lot lately, the mortgage news, that it's these companies with these fights for these MSR books and, the Two Harbors thing, the Mr. Cooper buyout, right? Everybody's trying to get the data on the MSRs because that's where the long-term, and that's much more valuable than a monthly income that comes off servicing. Servicing income is great, and evoLend will provide that. However, the more important thing is the actual data. So we're working with our investors heavily, and we're making great strides in it, where they just have to change their mindset. They can do it. It's just whether or not they decide to do it. So they have to change their mindset and agree that when we do a loan with them, they're going to tell the subservicers, they have to get involved with, and we're already working with the major subservicer companies now as well to port and share that data. So now, as long as they force it contractually that they just have to share the data with us, they don't have to pay us anything, but they have to share the data with us and let us control the payoff. Let us see those things. And there's ways to do that. So it's completely and totally legal. The loan officer can be involved with those things. So now but it comes with an agreement that, hey, we have to help them. We're getting that to retain their portfolio for them. And I want to maintain my lender partners' portfolios as good as I'm going to want to retain evoLends for evoLend. It's got to be for them. It's got to be doing the right thing in business, So
how many investors have agreed to that with you already?
We're actively talking to about 5, but they're our major investors. They're doing more business, the majority of all of our volumes. So
I like that. And is there pushback? Are they open to the idea? You said it's a mindset they have to shift, right?
Yeah, I think everybody's going to be open to it because if I'm calling them as the largest mortgage broker in the industry saying this is what I want, they're going to listen, right? So they're open to it. But I think then they have to digest it. What does that look like to them? There's a lot of security that they're concerned about. How do we legally structure this? Because a lot of these companies are publicly traded, by the way.
Yeah.
Right. And so you can go through the list of the publicly traded mortgage companies out there that we're talking to. And those are the people who are very, very big into the MSR data, is these publicly traded companies. So they have additional scrutinies that they have to deal with, right, to be publicly traded on top of it. So we have to make sure that our software is in tune. It's proper. It's got all the, the SOC 2s and all those good fun things embedded. And we got to make sure there's the legal ability to share that data properly. So we got to set up the structure properly to make sure that's all in place for those partners. And it's not going to be an overnight process, but it is happening. And the partners that we're the biggest partners with are certainly talking to us. And we planted the seed, and I've kind of forced their hand now with the evoLend thing. And so now they realize, okay, well, this isn't going away. He's doing it one way or the other. I'm going to give it to my loan officers one way or the other. But I think all the loan officers in the industry are going to be able to benefit from this over time as well, because I plan on changing the mindset of how it comes to getting the original loan officer involved at the servicing level, right? Controlling the relationship for years to come, not just at that time.
So that probably goes along with your mission, giving loan officers what they deserve. You talk about that a lot. We've talked about it briefly here. So evoLend, where does it fit into the ecosystem, the web of what you say, giving loan officers what they deserve?
Well, so like I indicated earlier, right? I already have next to 100. How do you give more than 100?
Exactly.
And so the only way to do that was servicing. So with service doing, I have to think of something how to outdo myself on this one. I have about a year to do that. Don't get me wrong. But this one, it's like, okay, well, I can go above if I can get this done. And if I can structure this properly and legally. And it took a lot of work working with regulators, working with attorneys to make sure we're structuring it so it's legal, because LO compensation rules come into play. You got to make sure those things are correct. You can't let a loan officer steer a product, as an example. So we worked with all that. We made sure there's all the legal standards are behind all of that. But it all fits into that, because it's giving the loan officer what they deserve. The one thing loan officers do every single month is they have to constantly rebuild their business every single month, right? I closed the loan. It went well. I got paid. Okay, next loan. And because we live in that mindset, we naturally tend to think about, okay, where's my next deal, my next deal, my next deal, my next deal. And it's always a hustle, right? You got to get out of the hustle if you want a real business. You got to have a residual income if you want to have a real business. Otherwise, you're just an employee of your own business. And so the loan officers, we want to make sure they have residual incomes. We accomplish that at Nexa in multiple ways. We already accomplished it at Nexa. If they help us recruit and grow, we get them a residual income for that. And it's significant. We've got multimillionaires at Nexa as a result of just recruiting residual income. But top producers don't want to play that game and get involved in recruiting. They're like, I want a residual income. I'm the one bringing the business. And they're right. So now we're going to bring our top producers with the ability to get a residual income on their loans, or at minimum, they're going to control the most valuable thing in this business. And that's the relationship. So they get it back in 2 years or in 4 years, right? Or they get their kids back, or their friends, things of that nature. So.
Well, that was really, for years and years and years, I was part of that fight of, okay, who owns the client, right? And trigger leads were such a nasty, nasty part of people going out there and being able to take those away. And so as a servicer, explain that for everybody, because a lot of people still don't understand trigger leads still exist, right? But not the way they used to. And so how does evoLend evolve the trigger lead conversation to benefit now everyone?
Well, so long as you're the servicer of an MSR or you own the MSR, you're allowed to get the trigger leads on those. So you still work with the credit companies to get the trigger lead if you own the MSR. So in this case, we will either own the MSR or we will assist in sub-servicing that MSR, one or the other. So we get access to that trigger data. So we still get it for our customers. And we will use it. We will use it to the max of our ability. So if a loan officer at another company is reaching out to that consumer and and a mortgage inquiry comes through on that, we're going to know it instantly, and we are going to reach out to it. And look, I'm as aggressive as anybody when it comes to competing. I plan on competing at an aggressive level and make absolutely sure whoever that other loan officer is does not get that deal. I will do whatever it takes to make sure that my loan officers get the chance to bring that deal back into the system, their systems, right? and retain that portfolio on top of it, including being as aggressive as I have to be with that payoff. You're not going to get it unless you talk to us. Otherwise, you're going to go through the legal time that's required to get it. It's just the reality. So, and certain companies are known for this, and mortgage loan officers hate them for it, those companies. But look, my job is to grow my loan officers and win for my loan officers. My job is not to grow for another company's loan officers, right? I'm not there to help them. I'm there to help my loan officers. And that's exactly what I plan on doing for Nexa.
No, and I love that. How do you see this changing relationships? Because obviously there's a seesaw effect out there, right? Between loan officers and real estate agents. And so how is evoLend going to evolve, change, enhance? I mean, whatever terms you're thinking, how does that change the relationship with the real estate agents with loan officers?
I don't know that it will help to change the relationship with the real estate agents, because we plan within our servicing platforms, right, having geo-tracking, things of that nature. So, and I already have all the IDX feeds because I have real estate companies as well across the country. So, and look, those are all strategic companies specifically to help the loan officer, all of it. And it all comes together when we're able to bring all that together in one ecosystem and using technology. But it helps the realtor relationship, because the loan officer who funded the loan and is now participating in the servicing of the loan and controlling the relationship will now have all the IDX feeds inside the servicing platform. So we know exactly where all the houses for sale are located. We know where the open houses are because we have all those IDX feeds. I own FSBO.com as well, so I have the feeds there. So I can tell when that particular, when they're using the app, right, for their servicing and everything else. I can tell when they viewed when they went to 5 homes of properties that are actually for sale. So even without a mortgage inquiry, I can tell when somebody's looking at homes. It's not hard. Like, oh, you just happen to visit 5 homes that are for sale in a 2-hour period of time, right? That's an immediate indication that they are looking at another home, either a second home, an investment property, or a new residential property. I mean, quite frankly, we're going to be able to tell which ones they're looking at, right? So now the loan officer can reach back out to their realtor partner on that deal, say, hey, are you the one showing these homes? Because somebody's showing them homes. What's going on here? That. You see what I mean? So it should be able to provide substantial benefit to the loan officers. So
now go, if you could, FHA Streamlines. What does this do for that business?
Oh, well, because we know when it's in play, right? So we know exactly on our MSR portfolios. I think that's the terminology they're using, and I'm learning the terminology for the servicing world. So you got to forgive me. I don't claim to be a PhD in this. I'm good at originating, but they call it in play, right? Which means you're in the money. Which means that MSR value is dropping because it's in the money, and it's a prime candidate for a VA IRRRL or an FHA Streamline. And so we know that in advance, and we're not dumb. We know that other people know that too. Because there are companies out there who think that they control all the data in this, but the reality is data is so widely available publicly anymore that everybody can tell if you got an FHA loan at this particular time in history, even if you don't have a copy of the note. We're not stupid. We know based on the lender who was on the note, we know about what the rate is. It's not hard to figure it out. And we know that that's in the money. And so that's where these trigger lead companies, when they didn't have the MSR, would do a really good job of churning them. Now, they're still doing a fine job without the trigger leads to know when that data is coming through, because data is a powerful, powerful thing today. And companies know how to manipulate the data to figure out when you're actually looking or when you're in the money. So that MSR is deteriorating. And by the way, a lot of consumers know they're in the money as well. So we know that definitively, though, when you own the MSR. So we're going to immediately start reaching out to them and say, listen, you could save yourself $85 a month, $200 a month. We already have all your data. It's a simple, streamlined process. We already have it. Let's just a couple updates here on a couple questions, and the agentic AI will do it. Loan officers through the technology of evoLend will be able to very quickly recognize that they're not even communicating with the consumer, but they have a loan getting ready to submit. But it looks like they're right because the system is doing the communications for them. at that stage. And so that's agentic AI, and that's here, and it's a beautiful product. It's going to put loan officers who don't use it out of business, but the loan officers who use it are going to do really well. And so we want to make sure our loan officers have direct access to those tools and technologies, because a loan officer will have a loan that they did 2 years ago, right? You're calling on the Smith file, and you're like, hey, the system tells you, hey, you got to submit this loan, or the system says, hey, by the way, we just submitted your Smith loan. You're like, what are you talking about? And so you pull it up. That's my customer from 2 years ago, and you realize that you kind of been working with them for the past 2 weeks. You didn't even realize it. The systems will do it for you. So when you have access to the data and the MSR, the ownership of that, it just makes it dramatically easier. It's not that others can't get to it. They can. They can manipulate that data and figure out that it's in the money. So if you own the MSR, you better protect your book by doing it yourself, is what it comes down to. And then, by the way, it's just the right thing by the consumer. Do the right thing by the consumer. By the way, these companies, I'm not talking about churning. Right? You get these companies who get in business for churning. And you hear this, right? They says, well, I don't care if I pay a $2 million fine if I made $2 million doing it. Okay, but you're actually hurting people's equity. That's just hurting the American dream. So you do it the right way. Don't get me wrong. But if you're churning your pipeline, then I disagree. You got to do it when it makes sense. Does it make sense to give a veteran a $10 savings? I don't know. Maybe. I doubt it. Just so you can strip away another few $1,000s in equity on them? I doubt it. Even if you can, why would you, right? So you got to do it in the right way. Don't get me wrong. So
now because one thing we're trained in the industry, nothing's for free, right? And I'm not saying this. So a lot of people are wondering who actually qualifies to be able to benefit from evoLend. How does one qualify to be a part of that, to benefit?
Well, look, they're going to have to. We're not opening up outside of Nexa right now. That's okay. Sure. So I don't know.
Well, that's rule number one.
Yeah, that's it. Right. So it's a company that's owned by me. I own Nexa as well. But I'm not building my competitors here. So, but I think it'll benefit everybody long term, because what we're doing, I hope to change the mindset of the industry, that loan officers at a granular level, right, in the front lines, every loan officer deserves this, whether you're with Nexa or you're with Edge or you're with C2, you deserve this. They deserve this too, right, at their companies. And I think we're going to move forward in the industry so that they'll end up getting at least minimum access to the data as well. Now, look, you have to, in order to make this right, you have to legally own a separate entity that's a servicing company to do this. You can't even do it internally. So you can't turn your own company into a servicing company. If I did this at Nexa, it wouldn't be legal to do what I'm doing. It has to be a separate legal company where they're doing a separate feature in order to not violate certain laws. But so I don't think anybody else can do it. Certainly not on the wholesale side. But it's going to be a rare day that they can do it. So it's very difficult for them to catch up to what we're doing.
So it's not just for like Nexa 100 people. This is all Nexa.
Well, Nexa is going to roll it out in phases. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
Well, are we focusing specifically on our Nexa 100 partners? Absolutely. Right. But we're going to roll it out in phases to our next one. Right now, our support coaches who train and support our loan officers, there's about 50 of them that sit online all day long just waiting to help our loan officers. They're getting into the system, getting access to it first, getting trained on it so that they can help every loan officer and getting in there and getting it done. But after that, we're going to open it up specifically to our Founders Club members, right? Top producers at Nexa, because we're not going to just blow. I mean, we have 3,800, almost 3,800 loan officers. We're not just going to, hey, every one of you take it today. It would blow up the system. You gotta ease them into it, and then we'll probably do it based on tenure. So tenure and volume. So
I love that. Now talk with me a little bit. What is this no touch close versus a one touch close?
I love that, right? So we came up with this concept literally pretty recently. And this, I gotta give kudos, shout outs to Tammy Richards on this, because Tammy people don't know this about Tammy, but she's an ever relentless learner. She never stops learning. And I reference her with Benjamin Franklin, because Benjamin Franklin passed in his 80s. But the interesting dark thing about when he passed, what they found on his nightstand, it was impressive. And they found a partially read book. The book doesn't matter what he was reading. What mattered is that he was learning up until the night he passed away and closed his eyes, and he died within his sleep. And that is Tammy. Tammy literally recently just went and got her master's in AI, right? She's a forever learner, and she loves to get educated. She loves to learn the new things, and she's done that her entire career. And we at Nexa applaud her, because we get to benefit from that phenomenal education that she's done her entire life, but she's still doing it. And she literally recently got her master's in AI. So because of her knowledge of the industry, because of her knowledge in operations, and she ran operations at Bank of America, at Loan Depot, at LART, right, at Kind. She's involved in operations and understands mortgages so intimately, but she also understands technology and how to do it. So Tammy believes that in the very near future, and if I was to ask Tammy, I think she would say like this month, she believes that we can get about 70% of our loans at evoLend to a no-touch close, right? And she really wants to strive to get over 90% of them to a no-touch close. And these are all reps and warranted, and they all have insurance behind the decision-making and all the technology that she's built out. So that is there, and it's available. And she already tested it with a couple of test case files, and she's already been able to obtain some no-touch close files. And so we're really excited about turning the industry to a no-touch close at the end of the day. Now, you can only do that on certain files, obviously, right? Certain files still have to have a human touch just to validate them. Don't get me wrong. But you should be able to submit a file into a system and have everything and not need a touch at all. And just, it clears it. And I'm talking clears it in like 20 seconds, and you're cleared to close. So as long as you have it, why can't you have that, right? And loan officers are notorious for this. We piecemeal stuff, right? And lenders hate it. Underwriters hate it. They have 4, 5, 6 touches on a file because we piecemeal the pay stub, right? We piecemealed you wanted that page 10 of the bank statement? Here you go. We piecemealed it. Well, what about the other 4 things I need to actually clear your file? So in the system, like a no-touch closed system, right? You can piecemeal anything you want. The system clears it in 10 seconds. And it clears it because AI has the capabilities to do that. And Tammy has the knowledge of the industry and the AI and the relationships to make sure it's compliant and possible. So that's really an attribute I gotta give to Tammy for that one specifically. So, but she's able to no touch close on some files, and she's able to no touch clear conditions.
So how did you get this dream team put together? I mean, you're talking a lot about, Tammy, she's the CEO of evoLend. You've got yourself. I mean, who makes up that dream team, right? The Jordan, the Pippen, the Karl Malone, and all that good stuff. How did you manage that?
Yeah, you're old school like me. You're mentioning all
yeah,
those
exactly.
You're right on that, dream. Look, I don't even know that I'm deserving of this team. It still blows my mind how it happened, because obviously I was going through my legal disputes with my former business partner, and I had a chip on my shoulder. And I said, you know what? I don't need anybody. I'm going to do this on my own. And when he left, we had 2,300 loan officers, but I still, in the next year, grew it at 600 to 700 loan officers a year. But then I realized at one point, I said, you know what? Maybe I need some help. And then once I started hiring people, I realized it's not that I needed help recently, because it didn't, for that whole process, nothing felt different. I did everything the same. I'm like, this isn't very hard to run this company on my own. I'm very efficient what I do. And I do a lot of delegating, and I'm very good at it. I'm a master delegator. But I realized that I'm taking on the weight of Nexa, and I was wondering if maybe I was hurting Nexans in the process, even though I was doing it. And it was no different than when that business partner left. So then I made my first hire. I hired Jason DuPont as a COO, because he's just one of the most wicked smart people I've ever met in my life. And I learned to surround myself with smart people. And when he jumped in and started helping out, I realized right then and there that it's not that I needed help now to run this. It's that I needed help at the time for the past 7 years to run this. That I've always needed help to run this. And I was, in fact, doing it on my own the entire time. And that's why I didn't feel any different, because he came in and had an immediate and direct impact. And so then I was able, Jerry Farr, and that was just, I mean, I literally thought this was such a shot in the dark, because Jerry Farr was with some companies that were going through some transitions and acquisitions with, Rocket and all that good stuff. And so I just did a shot in the dark. I said, hey, I'm just wondering if, because realize that Jerry had to deal with me as a loan officer, as a mega producing loan officer many years ago. And I knew she knew how to handle people like me, the egos of top producing loan officers. And I knew she never had a CEO spot, right? Or she'd been designated with those high-end titles, but I knew that she was the person. I knew that she had the right mentality to be able to handle this. I took it and she rejected me, don't get me wrong. But we stayed in touch. And she went and did some things, and then we kept in touch. And then at one point, we started talking again and had the benefit of being on. She was going to the same place, and I'm like, well, let me pick you up, right? And so I took her, had some designated time with her, and then she met Jason, and then and it really got going. She's like, well, I don't know, maybe this would be a good fit. She actually didn't think that I was really willing to give up the reins, but I'm perfectly happy to empower people. And that's a big thing about me, is I empower people. So, and she didn't think I was willing to give up the reins, but then when she saw how I interacted with Jason, she realized that. So she came on, and then she says, hey, I think we can get, you should go talk to Tammy Richards. This lady's genius. And so I talked to Tammy, and I was like, there's no chance, Jerry, that this Tammy would come in with all her knowledge, come and work with us, right? I felt like an imposter, is what the imposter syndrome. But Tammy is so Nexa, her culture, her character, you wouldn't know sometimes that she's listening, and then all of a sudden you realize this just massive amount of knowledge that she spews out, along with being funny as heck at the same time. So she's so Nexa at the end of the day. And I threw the offer at her, and I just didn't think it was possible, but she did. And then then we brought the others on, but they've all been such a dramatic help to Nexa, so that I don't have to do it all. And I got to give some love to Rana, by the way, because Rana had been there as my right hand even before Nexa, and Rana was the one dealing with all the fires, and she's been doing it for years. But there was finally some people to initiate some changes and put some things in the systems that could produce positive changes and benefits for our loan officers to help us in doing that. And it's been a lot of fun the last year. And a lot of people say, Nexa has invigorated them, and it's fun again for them, right? And I really, really appreciate those stories. But I got to say that it's fun again for me too. And after the lawsuits with my former business partner, they really brought a lot more energy to me, and realized that I don't need to do this alone, and I just have to empower them and let them do it, not get in their way. So not try to be the guy that, stops them from doing those things, because that's the way I want it, right? I gotta. So, we meet a couple times a week, and it's a great relationship between us. Everybody involved gets along so well. So.
I love it. And I've got to do a shameless plug real fast. If you want more news like this, webinars like this, go to wranews.com, subscribe. So wildly important to make sure, because as probably you already know, Mike, we're going to get some more articles, obviously, in their future. I don't know, people in the comments, if you want to see another webinar with Mike, let us know, right? Mike, you can see those comments as well. So we need to be careful, whatever. But the next question, you've mentioned a lot about, top producing LO, right? You've talked a lot about what you've done and finding the right people. And we're getting close to end of time. And I want everybody here to hear from you. What actually makes two things here? what makes a great LO and what makes a great real estate agent partner. Because I think those are critical in today's environment and today's business to know, because there's a lot of people, oh, I work 8 hours a day. No, you are on social media for 7 hours scrolling through videos. You may think you're working, but you're not, right? So what actually does make a great LO and a great real estate agent partner?
Yeah, I actually have a speech about this. I say on stage a lot, so any of my Nexans in the audience will probably have already heard this a few times. But money making activities, that's what it comes down to. And you said it, the exact thing I always say. I'm like, social media marketing is not perusing social media, right? We can all fall into a TikTok hole, sprain your ankle and get stuck there for a couple hours. That doesn't mean you were marketing and doing productive activity. You were not doing money making activities. And I tell people, if you want to be the best at what you do, or you want to be great at what you do, or you want to be good at what you do, right? There's somebody out there who you are resonating with and saying, I want to do like they are. I want to be like what they do. So, but it's real simple. The rules to do this, what makes you great is what you want. Now, if you want to do 2 loans a month or 200 loans a month, the answer is you can. It depends on the money making activities you're doing. So what I mean by that is, if you want to do 200 loans a month, look at somebody doing 200 loans a month. And you have to wake up before them, and you have to go to bed after them, and you have to do more money making activities during the day than they do. And it really comes down to more money making activities throughout the day. My superpower is I can create time. Everybody gets 24 hours a day, but I get a little bit more than that. And that's because I have better money making activities throughout the day so that I can then go and enjoy a little bit of personal time too. I'm a master at delegating. I'm a master at time blocking, and doing certain money making activities without excuses are the key to that, because you end up with more time than somebody else who's watching reruns of a sitcom. You just lost time. You just depleted your time, right? That is waste time. So some people say they want to be a top producing loan officer or a top producing realtor, but they don't act like it, right? You say you want to be it, but you don't want to be that as bad as you want to watch that show, or as bad as you want to go watch the football game with the boys. You say you want it, but you don't want it more than you want that. So you got to own up to that, and you got to do that. You got to do more money making. There's no secret pill to this business at all, realtors or loan officers, than doing more money making activities every single day consistently. That's it.
I'm going to ask a question there, Mike, because I love what you said. Surround yourself with those people. So we don't want to talk about competitors. We don't want to talk about, right, this isn't a promo for anybody else. But I'm going to ask you, I'm going to go a little bit off by my mental script here. Who to you, Mike, were those mentors that you said, I want to be like that, or I like what they're doing, or, whoever you're comfortable mentioning their names? Because especially this industry, it is a very, very small industry when it comes right down to it.
It is. And when I say these names, you got to understand that it's out of respect, not out of competition necessarily, right?
Yeah.
But when I first got into the space, into the wholesale space, look, when I was a loan officer, right, the name was John Volpe, because I wanted to be the highest producing loan officer in the industry. And okay. John Volpe, when I was there, he was the guy. Now, he happened to also be the CEO of the company I worked for, right? But he was number one on the Scotsman Guide, and that's what I went for. So I didn't really agree with the way he did business and the way he ran his team. And I did my things different. And I learned that from that, you can never copy what somebody's doing, ever, ever, ever. It's the dumbest thing in the world to try and copy somebody verbatim. Like, I can show somebody how I created my business, but they're never going to do it. It's mine. And it's not theirs. And they might take ideas and do something else. So I stopped watching how people do things long ago. And I don't go to conferences to listen to the speakers. I just don't. I go for the deals in the hallways. And because if I'm watching somebody do what they do, all I'm doing is copying them. And if I'm copying them, I'm chasing them forever, because they're onto something new. And so when people copy exactly what I did verbatim, you're just chasing them. You're always going to be behind me because I'm 2 or 3 ideas ahead of you now, right? Like who's got surfacing it? Right? Next has got surface. Are they copying what Next is doing? Because if they are, they're still trying to figure out how the hell I did revenue share, let alone Next 100, let alone the fact that I now have servicing, right? You're chasing me. You got to innovate. You got to think different and stop watching people and think the industry does this thing, but how can you do your thing at the end of the day? And I don't look at what other people do, but I will say that there are metrics that I looked at for other people. And when I opened up Nexa, I changed the metrics and I stopped looking at how many units I'm doing as a loan officer. And I started looking at like how many loan officers I have as a company. And so originally I looked at to this phenomenal company called C2 Financial. And I'm like, and I thought it was just completely untouchable where I was at. I'm like, they had over 650 loan officers at the time and we had like 15. I'm like, how the hell did they do that? And it just felt so insurmountable. It felt so unreachable. But we got to it, right? You just every single day you have to do more money making activities than the thing that you're going after. And so, and then I learned, and then we eventually caught them. And I have traumatic respect for C2 because that's the grandfather of the modern day mortgage company. They're the ones who held this ship together while everybody else, including me, went retail, came back into the mortgage broker space, right? They held it down for us and really laid the foundation of what the modern day mortgage broker is. But Nexa grew and we kept innovating and doing new things. Today, I got to look at cross country. Today, I check cross country's number every single Monday. How many loan officers did they get compared to how many did I get? That's what I look at. And I look at innermost consumer access every single Monday. Like you wouldn't believe, and I've been doing it for years now, tracking, right? And so we're constantly trying. Right now, it's them, then us for LO count. Now, there's going to be a time where I got to get, and I do have a lot of non-producing loan officers at Nexa because we only have 2 rules at Nexa. We simplify this thing. A lot of companies, right? Be legal, be profitable. I don't care if you do 2 loans a year, 2 loans a day, as long as you're legal doing it and you're profitable doing it. You're not causing me money problems. You're not causing me legal problems. Then by all means, those are the 2 rules that we have. I simplify this thing to make it simple. But I know that LO count also equals volume. Now, don't get me wrong. Top producing LOs equals more volume. So that's what I really want also. And we'll eventually get those with the things that we're doing as well. So, but our loan officers are coming in and they're building their business at Nexa to also be those top producers. So right now it's LO count and I gauge on a weekly basis, and it's Nexa, then it's cross country, right? They have more than we have, and so we're number 2 in the category, and so that's what I measure right now, right? And so I have to do more money-making activities on a daily basis than they are with how many people they have. And so, but I don't have to do it alone. Understand that. I have over almost 3,800 loan officers now who are doing it with me. So as a compilation, Nexa, not me, Nexa is doing more money-making activities for recruiting than they are because we grow more loan officers per week than they do. So we will eventually catch them. They have a heck of a head start, but we will get them. Then, of course, once we are that number 1, we're going to now have to focus and look at our volume and say, well, look, Next is doing like 11 billion in volume last year. We're projecting about 14, 15 billion in volume this year, but they're doing 30. Okay. Yeah. At one point, we got to chase that too. And they're doing a great job of it. And so we got to get to that. We got to do more loans per loan officer as well than we're doing. But they got long-term people. They write big checks, right? And so those long-term people will join cross country for those big, huge, fat checks. We don't write those big, fat checks, right? We're a broker. We have wholesale rates. We don't have the margins they have. We can't do the same thing. So hopefully with evoLend we can, though. Might change things. So.
Interesting. Yeah. And the last question I'm going to ask you, because I think it's important, right? For our viewers, for everybody here, what kind of real estate agent do you train your people to seek out as partners? Like what people to you is, Yeah.
So I have, and look, your ideal partner, everybody's ideal partner is different to them. Okay. So when I was a top producing loan officer, I looked for loyal agents. And look, the real truth is that's hard to find. But if you're not providing your agent with enough value, you don't have a loyal agent. And loan officers, I'm sorry to tell you, but if your value proposition to your realtors is, I have great rates, wonderful communication skills, and I close on time, they are not loyal to you. They're not. I'm sorry. And that's what every single loan officer in the industry is offering. Which loan officer out there is offering not the best rates, right? What are you going to do? Go say, I have terrible rates, but you should use me anyway? Oh, because my communication skills are wonderful. Well, unless something's going bad, then I'm going to avoid you for a couple hours until I can get a better answer. Who's going to say that? Every loan officer in the industry is saying, I got great rates, great communication skills, and I close on time. What are you going to say? I don't close on time? Of course you are. So if you're not offering a better value proposition than that, understand they're not loyal. Now, I was difficult to work with as a loan officer from my support staff as well as my realtors. I was not liked by my realtors, but I provided them buyers, pre-qualified, ready to go buyers who already knew their name, and I provided them listings. So who do you think they were going to be loyal to? Right? Loyalty is in the dollar. I'm not a fool, right? If you can provide value to your realtor partners, they will be loyal to you. It's how much value, because if you're providing the same value as another loan officer, it's just a matter of time to the shiny. Why do you think realtors have so many loan officers in their Redder profiles, right? Because the next shiny object comes along and there they are. Now, some of them are in fact loyal. Don't get me wrong. There is that in the industry. It's just far and wide. But if you're not providing them incredible value, they're not loyal to you. The loyalty is in the dollar. I'm no fool. The day I stop providing Nexans with total and complete value, they're going to say, nice, Mike. Appreciate your time. It was a fun run. I got to go do this other thing now, right? I got to provide for my family. They love me. I don't doubt it. But I know that their family comes first. And the world is ran on money. It's just the truth. It's just the way it works, right? There used to be a time where we had to farm. You had a skill set of if you could ride a horse, or if you could, so you had to do all those things were separate skill sets that you had to do. Today, money buys every single skill set we need. It buys housing, it buys food, it buys clothing. Money is what matters. And so loyalty is in the dollar. And by the way, it should be. It should be. And so that's just truth. And it's no different with realtor partners. And I don't blame them for wanting a loan officer who provides them extreme value, because they have to make money off whatever that loan officer is providing them. Now, listen, if a loan officer can really close on time on every single file for 20 years, good for them, but it's not really true. And we all know it. It's the mortgage industry. Things go wrong. But then great, communication is the number one thing a loan officer can do to obtain loyalty with a realtor. But to me, a very strong realtor, partnership is somebody who will communicate effectively with me, because I'm going to promise to also communicate effectively with them and not just say it. So answer your phone. I'll answer my phone. Respond to your messages. I'll respond to mine. I don't hide behind bad news, right? I address it front on. They respect that I addressed it, and they're not going to cut me out because we had a bad condition on a file. They're going to say, hey, that happens sometimes. So
I love that. And again, everybody, you should have seen the comments come pouring in, Mike. Everybody want you to come back. We'll talk with your team, with your marketing team, about getting multiple more webinars talking about this. As a thank you, I'd like to, for everybody being on today, you talk about exactly that. You want to make sure you give great value. One thing that we do here at WRA News, if Rick can pull it up here, we've created WRA Benefits. So if you go to WREbenefits.com, we've worked out deals with hotels up to 60% off nationwide, or worldwide, actually. T-Mobile for Business up to 20% off compared to other carriers. Tickets on movies starting at $9. I had a lady call me the other day, says, is it really $9? She's in LA. The average movie ticket there is $24. So just kind of our way, again, of saying thank you for all that you do. It's free to become a member there at WREbenefits.com to save on those and hundreds more. Mike, any last parting words that you'd want to share with everybody before we see you next time?
No, it's all my Nexans on here. Look, do them a solid and go to their website, sign up for them, right? They're helping us get exposure, help them get exposure. Tell others about it when you see them write something that's important. Share it on your socials. And I might have to go take advantage of that T-Mobile one myself because my Verizon is just not doing me solid these days.
I actually switched to T-Mobile because of it, and it's been pretty nice. I'm not gonna lie. This is not a paid promo, but that Starlink access on my phone through T-Mobile is pretty sweet when I'm up in the mountains.
Anybody who knows me at Nexa knows I love my Starlink. I carry one with me everywhere.
Okay, there you go.
And to have it on my phone, I'm like, it's becoming a thing that I'm just not sure I can see beyond. Like, how can a loan officer not see beyond 100? Eventually, I'm like, I've been ignoring T-Mobile as much as I can, but they might be better.
They're making life pretty easy. They're trying. So, all right. Well, thanks so much. I really appreciate your time. I know you're very, very busy. Enjoy Puerto Rico. Last time I was out there, I was up on the North Shore, and it's just it's beautiful. I love everything about it. So I'm jealous you're there. I don't lie. I love where I live in Utah. Huge shout out. That's why I chose to live here. But Puerto Rico is a place that's
I still love the mountains, though.
Exactly.
I love what you guys got there in Utah. All that whole stretch of the Rockies is just beautiful. So
we
better
love
than here.
Oh, okay. All right. You're making me blush. All right, everyone. Thanks again, everybody in the comments. As they go through, again, the link is WRE benefits if you want those discounts, if you want the news to subscribe so you can continue to receive news about Mike, about evoLend, about Nexa as we break stories, as we share stories, is WREnews.com. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.